First of all, her mother told her she was a problem and threatened to kill the child at 5 years old. Andi felt alone and abandoned. Her mother, father, older brother, extended family members preyed on her. She went out to the curb on her street in Los Angeles. She knew cars could be dangerous, and she waited for a car to come by to run her over. Since then, folks, I know it sounds dramatic, but Buerger says it has been a long journey of hurt and healing since then, and you will be so inspired by who she is and what she's doing. Please welcome Andi Buerger. Welcome back, Andi.
Well, thank you, Phil. Such a pleasure to be back on your show and to share with your listeners.
For those listeners, Andi, who don't know what Beulah's Place is, give us a brief description of the miracle that you have set up.
Thank you. Yes, Beulah's Place, in brief, rescues the at-risk homeless teen boys and girls who choose the streets because they're safer than what they're coming from, and they hope to survive long enough to get somewhere. And we intercede by giving them food, clothing, helping them complete high school education, and we get them jobs right away once they come to us. And these are the kids that have no safe family member or anyone in their life. They're not connected with anyone. So what we did 11 years ago is we just started looking for a way to help these kids. And since that time, we have housed and graduated 40, 50 young people because it takes a while in a safe house to get them through the program. And we've also rescued and helped hundreds of minor children, minor teens. And we are just looking at such amazing young people in our communities now that would have either died on the street from trafficking or criminal predators, or they simply would not have survived due to hunger.
Oh, my gosh. It's hard to imagine that these things happen, but they do. These are real. And for what you're doing, this is out in Oregon, correct?
Yes, we actually have kids that come from all over. We had one young man that somehow got here from Kansas, and we have any team that shows up in Oregon that we can help, we do.
Yes. And folks, while you're listening, if you can be searching Beulah's Place, that's BEULAH''S, Beulah's Place, a shelter for homeless teens. You can read up on truly, this, and I do call it a miracle, and I don't choose that word lightly because you have made a way for these children, these kids who are sexually exploited by these criminals and predators to find a life. You've been blessed by God himself. Let me ask you, how has COVID-19 impacted what you are doing right now, or has it?
Well, it definitely has, Phil. As you know, these kids, when we find them before the virus happened, they're not living in sanitary conditions. They don't have access to hygiene items normally. So, with the virus now, our donations, of course, are down. Our supplies are taxed. We have probably 200 to 300% more kids that we're trying to serve, more teens we're trying to save, and some of the, volunteers and people that help us. But the bottom line is these kids have no choice. They don't have medical plans. They may have the virus, not even know it. They may be passing it on, but they can't really walk into urgent care and say, please help me, on their own. Their concern today is, am I going to get to eat today? Am I going to be violated today? Is there any place I can hide? And will anybody out there rescue me or help the people that are trying to rescue kids like me?
Right, absolutely. You're not only tested on one level, but now with this COVID-19, it's an added burden. Tell us more about the vision that you see for these kids.
Well, so last year we took a huge leap of faith because we knew that while, one teen per one house is a great start, there were a lot more we couldn't get to because we're just average people, and we don't have licensing. We can't house minor teens in your home or other people's homes legally. And so we bought a building, a very old one that we're renovating, and it's going to be a prototype for a teen community center that is dedicated specifically to at-risk and homeless teens, so that we can get them not just food and clothing and the necessities, but offer mentoring, workshop, on-site job skill training with our little thrift and bookstore that we plan to have there. And so, kind of came to a little bit of a halt right now with the virus and the way it affects labor, the workforce, and the economy, but we're still plugging away. We're still helping kids through drop sites and pickup sites for things. But this is going to allow us to reduce suicide rates in the 14 to 19-year-old range the way we have in the adult teen range.
Absolutely, folks. For those of you who will go on YouTube, you can see this wonderful op-ed given by Andi. It's wonderful, powerful. It's inspiring about Beulah's Place. And knowing that you have gone through this at the hands of your own parents, is this one of the reasons why young people will open up to you, will, share their stories?
It definitely does create that level of trust sooner than later. They may find someone they would share a little bit with, but once they know that I've kind of been where they are, then it's a different ball game for them. They see that, wow, well, she made it, or she's doing this, and I can do it too, or I want to be, successful so I can help somebody. Once we feed them and they get sleep regularly, they have clean clothes, and they can brush their teeth every day, all those things, then they start looking at, maybe there is something for me, just like there was for Andi, right? So they're hoping that they can have a path of success too.
These teens, ladies and gentlemen, are subject to the hideous dictates of these sexual and other types of predators, and the kids have nowhere safe to go to sleep. Forget about social distancing themselves. They don't have health insurance. Who do they turn to? And if it's not for you and your husband at Beulah's Place, I don't know where they turn to, but how can we help you? I want to give our listeners a sense of your mission statement, but how can we help your dream continue?
That would be awesome. There are a number of ways. One is, of course, go to beulahsplace.org, BEULAHS place.org. There's information. There's a national trafficking hotline and other information on the site, suicide hotlines, everything there. And, of course, a donate button. We are all volunteer and have been for 11 years, so every dollar goes directly to the programs and the kids we serve. That's one way. Another way is my book on Amazon.com, A Fragile Thread of Hope. One Survivor's Quest to Rescue came out, and 45% of proceeds from the Kindle or paperback go directly to Beulah's Place and to help victims of child sex trafficking and child abuse. So that would be another way to get a fragile thread of hope. And then lastly, if you see something, say something. Don't be afraid. It's better to be wrong and have somebody safe than it is, to not. And go to the local law enforcement agencies in your area and just ask, what are the parameters? What can I report? This way, if somebody's a little more shy about that, they'll know what they can and can't do. But always, if you see something that just feels wrong in your gut, please step up, because that child, that teenager, that person is hoping you will have the courage to help them, live another day, literally, because life is very, very fragile.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to leave you with not only my gratitude, my love, and all that we can do to help you, but also with the thought that an old expression, the will of God will never take you where the grace of God will not protect you. And I want you to know that you are
right.
You are right there in the center of our appreciation. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Andi, before we thank you? And hopefully we can do this on a yearly basis to remind our listeners. Anything else you need?
That would be great. Of course, prayers and the provisions are great, but we are also going to be having a major Voices Against Trafficking radiothon coming up in fall. We hope you and your listeners will join us to help create that collective national voice against trafficking. So I'll keep you posted on that, and I hope we can join up again.
You are assured we will. Andi, and please give our best to your husband, Ed. Together, folks, they share a vision to help those who are truly, exploited by these criminals and predators. Andi Buerger, continue onward. We think the world of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to all your listeners. God bless you guys.
And likewise, Beulah's Place, ladies and gentlemen, Beulah's Place. We'll be right back.